Alex Mercer stood motionless, his sharp eyes fixed on the endless void beyond the thick viewport. Stars blinked coldly in the black abyss, distant and indifferent to the turmoil inside the station. His breath came shallow and steady, the weight of recent betrayals pressing deep into his chest. The events of the past weeks haunted him, every shadow, every whispered conversation, every flicker of doubt that had slipped through the cracks of his vigilance. He thought back to Marcus Vale's inscrutable gaze, the uneasy alliances forged and broken, the sabotage attempts narrowly averted. The station, once a gleaming symbol of corporate dominance and human ingenuity, now felt like a fragile shell, cracked and vulnerable. Trust was a currency in short supply, and paranoia had seeped into every compartment and corridor. Determined to regain control, Alex turned away from the viewport and moved briskly toward the briefing room. The artificial lighting was harsh, casting long shadows that seemed to stretch and twist in the confined space. Dr. Lena Ortiz was already there, hunched over a console, her curly black hair framing her face as she scrolled through system logs with practiced precision. "Any anomalies?" Alex asked, his voice low but edged with urgency. Lena looked up, her dark eyes meeting his. Some irregularities, but nothing conclusive. Still, the pattern suggests someone's trying to cover their tracks. The sabotage left more than physical damage, it left a trail of deception. Alex nodded grimly. "We need to find any lingering threats before they can strike again." Together, they pored over the data, the only sounds their whispered exchanges and the steady hum of the station's machinery. Each line of code was a potential clue, each anomaly a possible trap. The tension in the room was palpable, a shared burden of responsibility and fear. Later, as Alex floated through the zero-gravity corridor, his movements smooth but deliberate, Marcus Vale appeared from a side hatch. The sharp lines of his tailored suit contrasted with the sterile metal walls, and his calculating gaze met Alex's without flinching. "We need to talk," Marcus said, voice calm but firm. Alex hesitated, the ghosts of past deceptions clouding his judgment. Still, the fragile truce demanded engagement. "Make it quick." Their conversation was terse, laced with suspicion and half-truths. Marcus revealed partial intel on a potential new threat, but his motives remained murky. The silence between them carried the weight of unspoken accusations, a reminder that in Helix One's confined space, enemies could wear the faces of allies. Meanwhile, Jenna Wu patrolled the maintenance tunnels, her footsteps muffled but steady against the metal grating. The dim lighting cast long, jittery shadows, and every creak or shift made her senses sharpen. She embodied the fragile vigilance that now defined the station's security alert, weary but unyielding. Back in the command center, Alex convened a meeting with his core team. His voice was steady but resolute as he outlined renewed security protocols and the need for transparency and cooperation. The room was thick with tension, but beneath it lay a fragile, tentative step toward rebuilding trust. "We've been through hell," Alex began, "but we can't let fear fracture us further. We need to watch each other's backs, or we'll fall apart from within." Eyes met across the table, some filled with doubt, others with cautious resolve. The scars left by betrayal were deep, but the determination to protect Helix One and its people burned brighter. As the meeting adjourned, Alex lingered, his mind racing ahead. The paranoia that had shadowed them was not easily dispelled. The station was a crucible of power, ambition, and deception. A place was both a weapon and a weakness. He knew the road ahead would be long and fraught with danger. But for now, he clung to the hope that even in the darkest reaches of space, human resilience could shine through the echoes of betrayal. Outside, the stars continued their silent vigil, indifferent yet eternal. And aboard Helix 1, the battle for trust and survival was far from over. Alex's gaze returned once more to the void beyond the viewport. Somewhere out there, threats still lurked, waiting for a moment of weakness. But he was ready. Whatever came next, he would face it head-on, drawing strength from the fractures and the fires they had ignited within him. The station might bear scars, but so would he, and both would endure. The hum of the station's systems pulsed softly, a heartbeat in the cold silence of space. And as Alex prepared to take the next step, a new resolve settled over him, steady and unwavering. Trust would be built again, brick by fragile brick. But only if he dared to reach out, to risk betrayal once more. And so, the shadows of doubt lingered, but so did the promise of a new dawn aboard Helix 1. Alex Mercer sat rigidly on the narrow examination table, his sharp eyes fixed on the soft glow of the overhead lights. The familiar weight of tension clung to him like a second skin. Even as the immediate threat of sabotage had passed, Dr. Lena Ortiz, her curly black hair pulled back and glasses perched delicately on her nose, sat facing him with a calm that contrasted sharply with the turmoil inside him. "Breathe with me, Alex," she said softly, her voice a steady anchor in the sterile room. "In through your nose, hold, and out through your mouth. Let the tension flow out with your breath." Alex hesitated, then followed her instructions. The air in his lungs expanded and contracted, slow and deliberate. For the first time in hours, maybe days, he felt a sliver of calm seep through the cracks in his resolve. The zero-gravity environment of Helix 1 had been a relentless reminder of fragility. One wrong move, one miscalculation, and the station would be lost. But here, in this moment, the silence was a bomb, offering a fragile hope. Dr. Ortiz studied him with empathy. "You've been carrying a heavy burden, Alex. What happened during the sabotage is more than just physical damage. It cuts deep." He nodded, swallowing hard. Memories of the previous sabotage incident on a similar station flickered unbidden. The screams, the flashing alarms, the feeling of helplessness. Those ghosts had shadowed him ever since, fueling his cautiousness but also his isolation. "I keep thinking I should have done more," he confessed quietly, his voice rough. "Maybe if I'd seen the signs earlier." "You did everything you could," Lena reassured him. Survivors carry the weight, but they're also the ones who find the strength to rebuild. Outside the medical bay, the station was slowly stirring back to life. Jenna Wu, Alex's loyal subordinate, moved efficiently through the engineering deck, her short black hair tucked behind her ears as she worked alongside Chief Engineer Raj Patel. The low thrum of machinery filled the space, punctuated by the soft clicks of tools and the occasional murmur of technical jargon. "We're making progress," Raj said, wiping sweat from his brow despite the cool recycled air. "Life support is stabilizing, but we're not out of the woods yet." Jenna nodded, her gaze sharp despite the exhaustion evident in the lines around her eyes. "Every system we patch is one less risk. We keep moving forward." Their quiet determination was a testament to the resilience embedded in the crew, a collective refusal to succumb to despair. It was that spirit Alex clung to as he walked the corridors later, his steps light but purposeful. Passing the observation window, he paused, gazing out into the star-speckled void. The infinite blackness was both terrifying and humbling, a reminder of humanity's fragility in the vast cosmos. He thought of Vivian Cade, the mastermind behind the sabotage, and the tangled web of betrayal that had ensnared the summit. But more than that, he thought of the crew, the faces that had become his reluctant family in this suspended orbit. They had survived the worst, and now the real work of healing had begun. In the common area, a small group gathered. Their voices were low but steady, sharing stories of survival, loss, and hope. The ambient sounds of the station's life support systems created a steady backdrop, a heartbeat of normalcy in the disrupted environment. Alex joined the circle, feeling the fragile camaraderie settle around him like a shield. Jenna caught his eye and offered a small, tired smile. Rog nodded in silent support, and Dr. Ortiz, standing nearby, gave him an encouraging look that spoke of belief in his strength to lead once more. As the hours passed, Alex allowed himself to confront the ghosts that had haunted him. The scars were still there, raw, aching, but they no longer defined him. In their place grew a cautious hope, a determination to rebuild not just the station, but the trust and bonds fractured by betrayal. The journey ahead was uncertain. The wounds, physical and emotional, would take time to heal. But Helix 1 was still orbiting, still alive, and so was he. For the first time in a long while, Alex Mercer felt ready to face whatever came next. A sharp chime interrupted the quiet. Alex glanced at his wrist console. A security alert flickered briefly, then cleared. No immediate threat, but a reminder that vigilance was a constant companion in this fragile sanctuary. He took a deep breath, steadying himself. The scars of yesterday would not dictate the battles of tomorrow. With Dr. Ortiz's steady hand and the crew's unwavering resolve, Helix 1 would endure, and so would he. The orbit of lies had been shattered, but from its fragments, something stronger could emerge. The night was far from over. As the final day of the corporate summit unfolded, the atmosphere was thick with unspoken anxieties and the brittle veneer of civility. The sabotage had left its scars not just on the station's infrastructure, but etched deeply into the psyche of every delegate present. Alex Mercer stood at the edge of the room, his lean frame silhouetted against the vast viewport that framed the endless black of space, punctuated by the sapphire swirls of Earth below. His sharp eyes scanned the gathering, noting the subtle shifts in posture. The guarded glances exchanged between corporate titans whose alliances were now as fragile as the station's damaged hull. The weight of the mission, the lives lost, the betrayals uncovered pressed heavily on his shoulders. Yet, amidst the tension, a new reality was crystallizing. The summit's outcome would irrevocably reshape the balance of power. Inside the room, the summit leaders convened for what was to be the final board meeting. Vivian Cade, elegant and composed, despite her recent exposure as the saboteur, sat with a carefully measured expression. Her platinum blonde hair gleamed under the harsh lighting, and her piercing blue eyes held an unyielding resolve. Though her plot had been thwarted, the damage she inflicted was undeniable, and the corporate world aboard Helix 1 was poised for a reckoning. Dr. Lena Ortiz and Chief Engineer Raj Patel were nearby, their focus on the technical reports detailing the sabotage's impact. Lena's curly black hair framed a face etched with fatigue but alight with determination. She explained to a small group the intricate work that had saved the station from disaster, how each system, stabilized, was a testament to human ingenuity and resilience amid crisis. Raj, calm and pragmatic, nodded in agreement. His practical attire smudged with traces of the emergency repairs he had overseen. Marcus Vale lingered at the back, his tall figure impeccably dressed, his calculating gaze flickering between allies and rivals alike. His ambiguous loyalties had been a source of tension throughout the summit, and now, as the dust settled, he negotiated new terms with a sharp smile that belied the subtle menace in his eyes. It was clear that the corporate chess game was far from over. New alliances were being forged in the shadows, and old rivalries simmered beneath the surface. The discussions were terse, the language of power and strategy replacing the camaraderie that had briefly united the summit's participants. Alex listened closely, noting how the sabotage had accelerated the aggressive posturing between factions. Some sought to capitalize on the chaos, others to solidify their hold. The fragile peace was more a ceasefire, and the stakes had never been higher. As the meeting adjourned, Alex found himself once again by the viewport, the silence of space a stark contrast to the storm inside. The curve of Earth spun slowly beneath him, a reminder of the fragile world they all represented. He reflected on the cost of survival, the physical scars on the station, the emotional wounds borne by the crew, the betrayals that had shattered trust. Yet, within that reflection, there was a spark of cautious hope. The alliances forged, however uneasy, might yet hold. The vigilance would continue, and so would the fight to protect the station and those aboard it. The summit's conclusion marked not an end, but a beginning. A new chapter in the ongoing struggle for control and survival in the unforgiving expanse of space. Alex's role was no longer just security officer, but guardian of a delicate equilibrium, where every decision carried weight and every shadow might conceal a threat. As the last delegates prepared to depart, the station hummed with renewed energy systems repaired, protocols strengthened, but the memory of betrayal lingering like a spectre. Alex stood ready, aware that the endurance required was not merely physical, but mental and moral. The future was uncertain, but his resolve was unshaken. In the vast silence of space, amidst the shifting tides of corporate power, one truth remained clear: vigilance was the price of survival. His thoughts were interrupted by the arrival of Dr. Ortiz, who offered a small, reassuring smile. "The station is stable, for now," she said quietly. "But we both know this isn't over." Alex nodded, meeting her gaze. "No, it's just the beginning." Together, they turned back to the viewport, watching the Earth spin silently beneath them, a symbol of all they fought to protect. The corporate reckoning had come and gone, but the war for Helix One's future was only just unfolding. The chapter closed with the station's quiet hum echoing the unspoken promise. In space, every victory was temporary, and every enemy might still be lurking just beyond the next shadow. Alex Mercer's endurance, and that of Helix One, would be tested again, as the delicate balance of power remained poised on the edge of a knife. Alex Mercer stood near the vast window pane, the black void of space stretching infinitely beyond the station's armored glass. Stars flickered distantly, cold and indifferent, a reminder of the vastness that enveloped them. The faint hum of the station's life support systems was the only sound, a constant pulse beneath the quiet. Alex's sharp eyes scanned the intricate patterns of blinking lights on the control consoles, but his mind was elsewhere, aware that the danger was never truly gone. Though the sabotage had been thwarted, the scars it left on the station and its occupants lingered like shadows in the corners of every corridor. Trust had been fractured, alliances tested, and the weight of vigilance bore heavily on every member of the crew. Alex's shoulders were tense beneath his security uniform, the lines of past trauma etched deeply into his expression. He breathed deeply, grounding himself in the moment, knowing full well that the calm was fragile, temporary. Inside the control room, the glow of screens bathed the faces of Alex and Dr. Lena Ortiz. The chief scientist's eyes flickered between readouts, her fingers deftly manipulating the interface as she analyzed system diagnostics. "There's still some irregular activity in the secondary power grid," Lena noted, her voice low but steady. "Nothing critical yet, but it's enough to warrant attention. Alex nodded, his gaze narrowing. We can't afford to overlook anything. The moment we let our guard down, someone else could exploit it. Her gaze met his, empathetic yet resolute. I know, we're all stretched thin, but the station's safety depends on us. They worked side by side, a quiet partnership forged in the crucible of crisis. The monitors reflected their determination, casting sharp shadows that danced across their faces in the dim light. Each anomaly was a thread in a fragile web of security, and pulling the wrong one could unravel everything. Elsewhere, the zero-gravity corridors seemed deceptively peaceful. Jenna Wu floated silently through the narrow passageways, her movements precise and controlled. The absence of gravity made every action a careful calculation, her body twisting effortlessly in the confined space, eyes scanning every junction, every panel, every shadow. The station creaked softly around her, the subtle sounds magnified in the stark environment. The patrol was a routine necessity, but Jenna felt the weight of it acutely. Every corner held the potential for hidden dangers: loose bolts, tampered wires, or worse, a concealed saboteur. The tension was palpable, the knowledge that the past attacks might be the beginning of a longer, more insidious campaign. Chief Engineer Raj Patel was stationed in the engineering bay, the heart of Helix One's operational integrity. His hands moved with practiced skill over a complex control panel, checking valves, rerouting power, and stabilizing systems that had borne the brunt of the sabotage. Sweat beaded on his forehead despite the station's controlled climate, testament to the pressure he felt. These systems are holding for now, Raj said when Alex appeared at the doorway, his voice steady but edged with fatigue. But it's a constant battle. One misstep, one overlooked fault, and the whole station could be compromised. Alex stepped inside, the gravity of the situation settling between them. We'll keep pushing. I won't let this place fall. Raj nodded, a faint smile breaking through. That's why we're still here. As the hours turned into days, the rhythm of vigilance became the station's new normal. Alex coordinated patrols, reviewed security logs, and maintained open lines of communication with every key player aboard Helix One. The scars of betrayal were slow to heal, but the collective resolve to protect their fragile haven was undeniable. In his quieter moments, Alex wrestled with the psychological toll of the unending watch. The isolation of the station, the endless void beyond the windows, and the constant threat of unseen enemies gnawed at his mind. Yet, within that darkness, a spark of hope remained, the belief that through resilience and unity, they could endure. One evening, as the station rotated to reveal a distant nebula glowing softly in the distance, Alex found himself once again at the observation deck. The silent expanse of space stretched endlessly, a canvas of infinite possibilities and dangers. How do you keep going? Lena's voice startled him as she joined him quietly. She leaned against the console, her gaze fixed on the stars. Alex met her eyes, the weight of his answer heavy yet unwavering. Because if I don't, no one else will. Because out here, vigilance isn't just a job, it's survival. She nodded, understanding the burden they all bore. Together, they stood in the quiet, the hum of Helix One a steady heartbeat against the vast silence. The silent vigil continued, an unbroken line of defense in the darkness. Each breath, each step, each watchful glance was a promise to protect, to endure, and to stand firm against the shadows that threatened to consume them. And in that promise, Alex found his purpose renewed, ready for whatever challenges lay ahead. The station was safe for now, but in the endless void, danger was never far behind. The watch never ended,